Lee Goldberg is a reporter and anchor at CENTER Maine. He specializes in general assignment reporting and anchoring on News Center Now at 5 p.m. daily. Lee joined CENTER Maine in 1993 as sports director at WLBZ2 in Bangor. In his years at CENTER Maine, Lee has covered some of the biggest stories in New England sports history, including 7 Super Bowls and 3 World Series. Lee created and hosted the first high school football wrap-up show in Maine when the 5th quarter was introduced in 1993. It continues to this day as the longest-running high school football wrap-up show in New England. Lee's contributions to journalism in Maine have been recognized by the New England Emmys, Maine Association of Broadcasters, and the Associated Press, as well as the Maine Athletic Directors Association, which has named him Media Person of the Year. Lee won the Reader's Choice Best Local TV Sports Anchor Award for DownEast Magazine in 2012, 2013, 2014, 2015, and 2016. Before coming to CENTER Maine, Lee was sports director at WBOY-TV in Clarksburg, West Virginia from 1991 to 1993. In his spare time, Lee volunteers with the Maine Children's Cancer Program, Sweetser, Kids First, the Cromwell Center, the Iris Network, and others. He lives in the Portland area with his wife, 6 sons, 1 daughter, 4 dogs, and 5 cats. Lee's life is a bit chaotic, and he admits that. But he is so blessed and feels blessed because he does the job that he loves, and he loves the life that he leads. Welcome to the PR Maven podcast, a podcast all about growing your network and building your brand through traditional and digital networking techniques. I'm Nancy Marshall, the PR Maven and CEO of Marshall Communications. I've been strengthening brands through PR for over 35 years, and now I'm celebrating the success of executives, influencers, business owners, and entrepreneurs from all around the world, all of whom have cultivated their brands and broadened their networks through traditional and digital networking methods. Each week, I interview one of these interesting and influential individuals and provide an opportunity for you, the PR Maven Nation, to gain insights from their strategies and stories. So stay tuned for this week's episode, and thanks for listening. So, Lee, to kick things off, tell us about your career and how you got into it in the first place.
Oh, my gosh, my career. I don't want to bore all your listeners. Well, I got into it I went to during high school. I'm from here, and just always wanted to do. I remember being told by a teacher that my mouth was either going to get me in trouble or get me a job in my life. So I feel like it's done both, but luckily it did end up getting me a job. I've always loved talking and being in front of people. I've never had stage fright, never had fear of public speaking. You know, I've just always kind of embraced and liked that. Always loved sports, and went to school to be on the radio. Actually, my goal in life when I was 16, 17 years old was to be on Q97.9.
Oh, wow.
Hand to God, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a DJ. I wanted to play weddings and bar mitzvahs, and I was going to be the guy, and was on the radio and then went out and did all the functions. So I went to school in Henniker, New Hampshire, where I had my own radio show my freshman year and all the way through. And my senior year, my advisor asked if I'd ever thought about doing stuff with TV. And I said, well, I mean, we don't have a TV station here, so I really haven't. So he said, why don't you do an internship at the station in Manchester, which is about a half an hour away, and just see if you like TV. And I applied for the internship. I got it, and I never did radio again. So I did my internship at WMUR in Manchester. I graduated, and 10 months later, and I don't even know how many demo reels I had to send out, physically mail, because there was no internet back then. All the rejection letters I got, all the dear applicant letters I got, and finally, after about 10 months, somebody said yes, and I got hired in Clarksburg, West Virginia, for $12,000 a year, and I jumped in a car, and there was no, GPS. I found my way to West Virginia with a map from AAA, and got out there, and And, I've been on television since January of 91, so 29 years now. So pretty cool.
Wow, that's a great story, and you were very tenacious. You stuck
Well,
with
I
it.
wanted it. I mean, I work with the interns at Channel 6 now, and I tell them all, you've got to find that line between persistence and pain in the butt, and it's okay to be a little bit on the other side. So I think I was that guy that was just push until, not in an obnoxious way, but just to kind of show my passion and persistence and how badly I wanted something, and I wasn't willing to give up until I got it, and eventually I finally did. So also living at home after college is inspiration to get out. So I had 3 part-time jobs. I was paying my parents rent, and I was out of college. I'm like, I need a job or I'm going to not make it here. So I finally got one. So
Yeah, that's good motivation right there.
Exactly.
So even though you're a TV broadcaster, you probably still have to do some PR and social media to promote your own brand.
Yeah, social media. I mean, the internet has obviously changed the entire business of television. I mean, in ways that we don't have time to discuss, but literally everything I've done in my whole career, I now do differently from when I started. It's all different. But as far as social media, yeah, we are, in fact, funny story. When Facebook and MySpace first came out, the station PR person asked if we could pick a couple of people from the station who are on air and be the guinea pigs to be our first social media people to go out there. And I was one of the people they chose. So the station created me for me a MySpace page and a Facebook page. And I'm like, okay, what am I supposed to do? And they said, they talked me through it and they set the whole thing up. And that was the beginning of Channel 6's interaction and foray, if you will, into social media, where we just weren't really sure what was going to happen with it. It was new, and we weren't sure how it was going to, whether it'd be helpful or not, or effective or not. And obviously, it's just blown up into this, nobody could have guessed what it's done for anybody who's in media or even not in media. So.
Do you have a how-to tip that you can share with PR Maven Nation for social media?
Well, for me, honestly, what works for me, I've got just under, I think, 15,000 friends on Facebook for my TV page. And the most traction, the most engagement, the most fun I think I have with it, and it's the majority of what I post, is stuff about my life. It just has nothing to do with TV. I don't post a lot of news stories. Hey, watch this story. I don't post a ton of. I mean, obviously, I've been to the Super Bowl 7 times. So when you're at the Super Bowl and there's a picture of you standing on the field, with Tom Brady behind you, people are going to want to see that. So that gets a lot of traction. But honestly, posting stuff of my kids and my dogs and my cats and my life. When people watch you on television and they grow up watching Channel 6, like I did growing up watching Channel 6 myself. You feel very connected to the people that you watch and you want to know more about them. So a small glimpse into my life, if you will, and our life, as crazy and chaotic as it is, because I talk about it so much on TV, that when they see it, it instantly connects. So a picture of my daughter on her 7th birthday will get, 300 comments and, 4,000 likes. And, but I'll put up a picture of this incredible story that I worked on for months. I really want people to see, and it'll get maybe 100 comments and a few hundred likes. And so my secret has been just giving people some insight into who I am and what my daily life is like. So
you don't try to make any separation between the professional Lee Goldberg and the private Lee Goldberg. There's no such thing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of an open book, honestly. I mean, and that's I don't think that's for everybody. It's worked for me. In the 29 years that I've done this, there's nothing that comes close to the comments that I get when I meet people who say you're exactly like you are in person as you are on TV. That's it. Thank you. Because I couldn't imagine being that any other way. And not everybody is like that. There are people who are public person here and private person here. I'm just the same. Listen, I'm from here. Who am I kidding? I mean, I'm living the dream. I'm a kid from Maine who went to Deering High School and had a dream and have been ridiculously blessed to do what I've been doing for 29 years. And every person I've met, every experience I've had, it'd be disingenuous to say it's anything other than a total just dream come true, literal dream come true. So to share that with the people, it's just, we're an open book, and my wife's aware of that. My kids are aware of that. I mean, we're very open and public with our lives. We go live Thanksgiving morning as I prepare the Thanksgiving turkey. And for the last 3 years, I've decided to go Facebook Live on Thanksgiving morning at 6 a.m. on the preparation of the turkey, because with that comes fighting off animals and kids and whatever's happening in my crazy life trying to get the turkey ready. And I'm telling you, Nancy, the first year, 10,000 people watched. 10,000 people at 6 in the morning on Thanksgiving. The next year, 18,000 people watched. And this past year, we were just under 40,000 people. And people were emailing me, right? When people were emailing in advance of Thanksgiving, you're going to do it, right? This year, you're doing the preparation of the turkey again, right? I mean, I'm preparing a turkey. Like, it's not rocket science. I'm literally cutting a turkey and putting butter in. But it's hysterical because you don't know what's going to happen in my life. And so we're willing to share that. I love it. I think it's an honor that people care at all about what I'm doing with my life and what my kids are doing. And so, we pretty much share it all. Good, bad, and ugly.
I'm going to make sure we put a tickler in our calendar for Thanksgiving 2020.
It's quite something.
We'll give a heads up to everybody in PR Maven Nation to tune in to your Facebook Live. That's a great tip.
Yeah, it's definitely, I'm not sure what the fascination is, but people love it, and we certainly have a good time with it. So,
well, I love the fact that you are the same in real life and on the air, because I think it's easier to be the same person, wherever you show up. And it's also more authentic.
Yeah, and I do understand how people are. I mean, also this is Maine. I mean, I'm not in New York City. I think if I had to live the life, I'm not pretending that we have anything like the life of an actual star in a big city. I don't get my privacy invaded. I don't have paparazzi following me around. I mean, we don't have stuff like that. But if I'm at a restaurant with my kids, if somebody wants to come over and say they've watched me for a long time and would love to take a picture, what am I going to do? Say no? Of course. I can't even believe that they know who I am. It's such we get paid, financially to pay bills, but that's your payment. Because just think about, this is how I think of it. When you watch the local news, when you watch anything you choose to watch in your day, the main reason you probably watch it is you like the people. If you sat down and wrote down Channel 6, Channel 8, and Channel 13, you wrote down what everybody did in everybody's newscast, and you just logged everybody's newscast for one day, pretty good chance we all basically covered the same stories. Maybe it was in a different order or presented differently, but they're basically the same content. So why are you choosing this station over the other? Because you like the people. You like the people. That's it. That's why you watch. That's why I watched Channel 6 growing up. It wasn't because they had news no one else in the world had. I really liked watching Bruce Glazier and Pat Callahan and Joe Cupo. And so that's why people watch. And so that's the money is to, if the people like you, then they're going to watch you. So if they come up and say hi, that's the best validation in the world, because that means they watch. If I was on TV for 29 years and nobody said hi to me, I'm doing something wrong, because I'm like, hey, don't you even know I've been on TV for 29 years? It means they're not watching. So if they come over, that means they are. So I love that.
Yeah. Well, one of the great things I think about News Center Maine is that, most of you have been there a long time, and some, like Bill Green, have retired, but there's other people that have still been there, Cindy and Don Kerrigan in his living room with his cat on the snow days.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm still one of the kids there. I mean, I've been at News Center Maine since 93. So I left West Virginia in 93 and came back to Maine and started working for News Center relatively immediately. So 27 years I've been at News Center Maine. I'm only, I believe, like 8th on the longevity chart. I mean, that's, so I'm still one of the kids in the newsroom, and I've been there for longer than most of the kids who we actually have hired recently are actually alive. So
that's amazing.
It does say a lot about our station and our tradition and the brand, and the level of excellence that we like to think that we bring, and everybody loves doing what they do, and that's why we're all still there.
Well, I'm glad you brought up the word brand, because I believe that a brand really is your network and your relationships and your authenticity. And I believe you need to build those relationships both in person and online. So obviously you're doing that online thing with the Facebook, and you probably aren't doing MySpace anymore, though.
No,
right?
we do. No, we stopped the MySpace. No, I love the Twitter. I definitely love that. Facebook, I can take or leave Facebook. There's too much negativity. I don't have that on my page very much, which is nice. But in general, It's okay. It's a great tool though. It's a great tool to connect with your audience and to get your message to them directly. And if they're following you, or if they're friends with you, or if they, there's a reason. So you're not, selling them something that they don't already know that they're probably going to get, and I don't mean literally. I mean, just, if it's content, if they like my page, then they're probably going to see stuff that has to do with news or sports or my kids. So if you don't like news, sports, or my kids, you probably didn't follow me. So it's like direct marketing almost, because the people have already come to you. They've chosen to follow you on Twitter. So they already know what you're going to be delivering. They've chosen to follow you on Facebook. So they know what you're all about, and they're there. So you've got people who already know what your product is, and they like it enough that they clicked you. So it's a great opportunity to connect and to kind of get whatever message out you're trying to get out to lots of people in a short amount of time.
Right, exactly. And you mentioned some metrics before. Are you measuring your success by your likes and your shares? And
I don't. I mean, I really don't. I don't. It's not my thing. Yeah, I mean, I hope people like me, and they like us. I'm all about the new CENTER Maine brand. I mean, this is a job that I've had for a long time, but I don't want to get all corny on you. But for me, it's personal. This is my station. I was an 8-year-old little boy watching Channel 6 News, and I remember the first day I met Bruce Glazier at the Cumberland County Civic Center at a Mariners game, and saying, I was just like, oh, he could have been Tom Cruise for me. I mean, this is what I've always wanted to do. So the News Center brand matters to me far more than Lee Goldberg or Todd Guttner or Sharon Rose. I mean, anybody matters to me because this brand is important. It's been my entire fabric of my life. My parents, I have childhood memories of gathering around and watching the 6 o'clock news on News CENTER Maine. So that is personal. It's a job, but I take it very personally because that's my brand. Those are my people. That was my ESPN as a kid. I never wanted to go to ESPN. I wanted to work for Channel 6. That was my goal. And once I got there, I was like, holy cow. Whew, I made it to Channel 6.
That's amazing.
That was it. So
that's awesome. I'm glad that you aspired to that.
Me too.
And you've stuck it out a long time. So what have been some of the obstacles to success in your career, and how have you overcome them?
Oh, gosh. Early on, my obstacles were, I think, the whole conundrum of we can't hire you because you don't have any experience, but you can't get any experience till somebody hires you. That one always fascinated me because I was applying for entry-level jobs and they were listed as entry-level. So they should know I don't have experience or I wouldn't be applying for entry-level. So I found that one was interesting. I did have people tell me and I was literally applying anywhere in the country. Did not matter to me. I was ready to move at a moment's notice. I just wanted a job. And
you wanted to get out of your parents' house, too.
I did, yeah. I offered to work for free. I said, hire me for 3 months, I'll work for free. And if I do a bad job, send me home. And if I do a good job, then you hire me. I mean, I honestly, I wrote that in my letters after a while because I was like, just trust me, I can do this. Just give me a chance.
Yeah.
So, obstacles, my accent was an obstacle. I had people in the Midwest stations that said they wouldn't hire me because I sounded too much New England. And they didn't think that would go over well with their viewers.
I don't hear an accent when
I took addiction. I took a class on enunciation.
Oh, you did?
I did right away. I was like, okay, well, if that's a barrier, that's how I'm going to overcome it.
Oh,
I took an enunciation class to learn how to pronounce all of the letters and all of the words that I say.
You used to have more of a Maine accent?
Oh, I had a really bad one.
Oh, I bet you can bring it out if you want.
It does come out every once in a while, yeah. In fact, when I look back at my first days on the air back in 91 at WBOY-TV in Clarksburg, West Virginia, it's awful. Clarksburg, yeah. It was so bad. Oh, yeah. I'm like, seriously, somebody hired me? I thought I was great back then. I look at it now and go, okay, what was they thinking?
So, yeah, before you said you took a diction class, because when you said you took addiction, I'm like, really?
Yeah, no, but not addiction, yes.
A diction.
Yeah, just to learn how to speak properly so I wasn't so, more hireable, I guess.
That's interesting.
So. Yeah.
Is that common that others have taken diction classes as well?
I don't think so. I don't know of anybody else who had to do that. And we've got plenty of people that have really thick accents from wherever they're from. But for whatever reason, that was something that was keeping me from being hired. Maybe there was other things too, and they just decided to use that as an excuse. I don't know. Most of my rejection letters didn't even say Dear Lee. I'm like, I've got 3 letters and 2 are the same. Like, you can't even give me a Dear Lee. There was Dear Applicant.
Oh, gosh.
No reason really for why you didn't get it. Just you didn't get it. And so I didn't really have a lot to build on or constructive criticism. Very, very few and far between. I have every rejection letter I ever got. I still have it. I have all of them. in a folder, and I look at them every once in a while, along with my first contract I ever signed and all my rejection letters, and I just keep them all in a little folder just to remind me of where I was and kind of the blessed life that I've had. So
that's great. I love that. That you do count your blessings. You don't take anything for granted.
No, not at all.
Good for you. So PR, marketing, and certainly social media have changed drastically over my career, and they have over yours too. I mean, some of our listeners weren't even working, in the pre-internet days, as I think both of us were.
Definitely was. Typewriters and no internet, so.
So, is it part of your job? You mentioned that you like Twitter, for example. Is that part of your job description that you tweet, or do you just choose to do that on your own?
Yeah, it's not written in my contract, but I think it's just kind of understood. It's part of what we are required to do in our jobs. In fact, when I left sports after 26 years, one of the reasons that really drove me to that, if you will, is there was never downtime. Sports happen at nights and on weekends. That's when the majority of sports happen. They don't happen at noon on a Tuesday. They happen on a Tuesday night or a Wednesday night or a Saturday night. So I was always working. So even when I was home, I was working because I had 7,000 people who followed me on Twitter who want to know what the score of the high school game was. Now, whether I was there or not, it's still my responsibility as the sports director at Channel 6 to provide that information to the people who followed me. So it was nonstop, where I never felt like I was actually off, even if I wasn't physically at work. So the internet kind of demands that of you, to be the person who provides the information to the people who choose to follow you. And I wanted to be that person. I didn't want to let them down. And whether that was a self-imposed pressure to do it, or I just, thought nobody told me I had to do it. I just felt like I should do it. That's my job. I'm the sports director, and I'm going to let everybody know what's happening 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, whether I'm with my kids or not. So once I left sports, and I didn't, it was amazing to me how much freedom and free time I had to not be on my phone and to really unplug and to just be present when I was home, because I didn't have to go do anything else. And I don't know if I knew how bad it was until I was able to stop doing it. And I go, wow, I was really on my phone a lot, huh? And my family's like, yep.
Yeah.
You really were. So
it's funny. This past holiday season, I actually wrote a column for the Portland Press Herald about being more present, like giving your children your presents for Christmas.
It's true, because everybody is nobody wants to be disconnected. Nobody wants to miss the deal. Nobody wants to miss the sale. Nobody wants to miss the opportunity. And because if you're not available, somebody is. So if it's not going to be you, it'll be somebody else. And so you want that person to be you. So, and I'll use Dave, because Davey from Channel 13, he and I have been friends literally for 26 years, I believe.
Wow.
27 years.
He's
He's just one of my
guy.
favorite people in the world. So, but if somebody is looking for a high school score and I don't have it on Twitter and then Dave does, I might lose that viewer.
Right.
So it's like, I gotta, and Travis from Channel 8, we were constantly monitoring. Well, I don't know if they were, but I was constantly monitoring them to see if they had anything that I didn't have, and how come I didn't get this. And so it was constant. And in news, now that I've switched over to what I used to call the dark side, which is news.
Yeah.
It's not quite that way. There's still pressure to perform and deliver, but it's not as constant. And I know that if I don't do it, somebody else at my station will. There's a lot of people in the news department at Channel 6 at CENTER Maine. And in sports, there wasn't. The sports, it was me, because Bruce wasn't doing the internet. So it was really just me. So that was also different. So now I'm not so worried about it, because if I don't have something on, I know that somebody else at the station will.
So was that your idea to go over to the news side, or did the station propose that you do that?
Yes. Yeah. So local sports was such a huge part of my entire life growing up, and my entire career. The majority of the 26 of the 29 years was just sports, and it's all I ever wanted to do. I wanted to make people laugh and smile and talk about games. I always thought the news was so depressing. Like, we spend the first few minutes telling you about whatever, God forbid somebody died, or there was a fire, or there was a crash, and then the weather comes on. It's going to be rain, and it's going to snow, and we're going to have hail and locusts, and then it's like, okay, time for sports. So we just depressed you for 20 minutes and now it's my turn. So I always took that as an opportunity to, talk about things that really at the end of the day, for the most part, it was about wins or losses of a game.
Right.
Nothing was life-changing. It was just a game, and somebody won and somebody lost, and we're all going to be okay, which wasn't always the case in news. That's life-changing stuff. Sports, not so much. So I found my niche would be that. And as the internet evolved and people did not have to run home after a game to watch the news to see how their team did, because they could find out by looking at their phone. So they don't need me for that anymore. And so the niche that we had was, well, we're going to go super heavy on local sports, because at the time you still are going to need us to see how South Portland did and how Deering did and how Bangor did. But then that became not necessarily true either, because now high school sports was all over the internet, and you could live stream the games and you could watch them on your phone, and you'd get the score long before the 11 o'clock news ever came on. You already know how your team did. You've already looked it up on the phone. You've already seen the highlights. You already know. So the relevance of local sports started to thin. So when that landscape started to shift and it became clear that the job that I loved to do, which was cover the stuff in our backyards over and over and over again, when that started to shift to not being as relevant as it used to be, and they were going to maybe talk about doing sports a little bit differently, I didn't want to do that anymore. So that's when the idea of, okay, well, what else can I do if I don't want to do it a different way, because I really like the way we're doing it now? What else can I possibly do? News came up, and then the conversation started to happen, and then I switched over to news. So yeah, that was the evolution.
Well, that's nice. I mean, it's a different role, and I see you slightly differently, but I like your conversational style. And, where the way you interact with Sharon, for example. Well,
yeah. So Sharon, I mean, first of all, let's be real. With Sharon and Todd, now that I'm on the morning report, which is, just such a great gig. I mean, honestly, who gets up at 2:00 in the morning and is happy about it? Nobody, right? But I am. I'm that obnoxious happy, like, good morning. Like, I love that shift. The alarm going off hurts. There's no way getting around that. But Sharon and I worked together in 1993.
Wow.
So before she ever worked with Lee Nelson, I'm the original Lee. I'm the old Lee. I'm the OL. So we worked together in Bangor when she was a producer behind the scenes, and she needed to practice being on TV. So they sent her to WLBZ, where I already was, and we anchored together up there. So I've known her, and we've had that relationship forever. And of my 26 years of doing sports, 19 were on the weekends. So because Bruce Glazier was never going to retire. So I was on weekends forever, it seemed like. But so was Todd Guttner his first time around. He was on the weekend. So he and I did years together on the weekend shift. And when you're on a small skeleton crew like that, you form pretty quick bonds. So to get put back with them all these years later, and to reconnect with Todd, who's basically my little brother who I pick on all the time, and Sharon, who's
like your little sister.
Sharon. Yeah, she's just, I just love her. She's
you
so
guys
great.
had a great conversation. We're approaching Valentine's Day here, and you had a conversation. Was it this morning or yesterday about using a coupon?
Yeah, it was today. Yeah,
today. Yeah. Stuck with me. It's like, should you use a coupon on a first date? On Valentine's Day.
And the amount of people that were offended by the thought of that. And I'm like,
and she was very forthright. She threw it right down.
Yeah. Oh, no, she'll mess around.
I thought, that's a good Maine girl.
It's
she
story.
wants to save a buck if she can, and she'd be impressed if her date did that.
And with the three of us, that stuff is so organic. Like, nothing is, that part is not scripted. You don't know what's going to come out of anybody's mouth, especially Todd, because sometimes he says stuff. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? But it's organic. We just get it along, and it just works. The three of us, I think, really work, and hopefully the viewers think so as well, because I mean, it's really fun, and obviously we have hard stories. I mean, every day we're talking about some hard stuff. So when there are windows of opportunity like that to just have a little fun, maybe put a smile on your face before you head out the door.
That is the thing that I remember more than. I mean, I'm sure you talked about the coronavirus and the cruise ships and all that, but yeah, I remember that coupon on the Valentine's Day. So
she was fired up.
Kudos.
She was fired up about that.
We'll continue our conversation with Lee Goldberg shortly, but I wanted to share some exciting news with you about how you can connect with me about the podcast. We have created the PR Maven podcast listener line. Today's message comes from Dustin Bailey, a proud member of PR Maven Nation, and he works at Anania Media.
Hey, Nancy. This is Dustin Bailey over at Anania Media. So I've talked to a few young PR students and professionals, and some of them are seemingly allergic to sort of the mix of earned and paid campaigns for their clients. And I was wondering, since PR and marketing are coming closer together and you've had experience wearing so many different hats, do you believe the new PR professionals should have experience in both?
Thanks for your comment and question, Dustin. I believe that PR professionals need to understand the best way to connect with their targeted audience. The lines have really blurred between paid and earned media. I believe that the PR pro of today needs to evaluate every opportunity, regardless of whether it's paid or earned. Sometimes buying an advertorial makes sense if it's the best way to communicate a message to your targeted audience. Ultimately, it's all about finding the most efficient and direct way to communicate your key messages to your targeted audiences. Thanks, Dustin. I hope that helps. And if you have a question or comment about the podcast, just like Dustin, you can call our listener line right now or anytime at 207-620-9075 and record a message and ask a question or share feedback or ideas for the podcast, including who you would like to hear on the show as future guests, or if you'd like to hear Lee Goldberg all over again because he is ready to come back right now. I look forward to hearing from you, and we're going to be back in just a moment with more from Lee Goldberg. So welcome back with Lee Goldberg in PR Maven Nation. It's really fun to have you here today, Lee.
I love the nation. That's
great. I'm glad you do. Everybody needs a nation.
It's a true story. What took you so long to get me on here? When am I coming back?
You're definitely coming back. Right, we could actually record a second episode today if you want to hang around. I don't think either you or I would run out of anything to say.
Plenty to say. Give me a microphone and get out of the way. That's what I generally, that's my general rule.
Me too, actually. That's why I'm so happy that I found podcasting. So most successful people have a network of fans and followers, either online or in person, or hopefully both. How have you built your network of fans and followers, and has it been a conscious goal or has it happened on its own?
No, it's been pretty organic. I mean, again, I think that for me, and it's going to sound, repetitive, but I feel like it's just being real, just be you. And I see people who are on TV and all of a sudden like, oh, everybody, blah, 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 blah. And that's not what they talk like. It's not what they act like. It's not what they look like. It's just, that's who they are, on television or on the radio, but that's not who they are. And I feel like about just being real, and that's not always good. I mean, sometimes your realness is got some open wounds that are hard to deal with. But I think if you're just yourself, I think it helps that I'm from here. I mean, I get it. I mean, I'm not from away trying to figure stuff out. So the problems and the stuff that concern all of the people who I interact with on social media concerned me as well when I was that age, and certainly as I've gotten older and become a husband and a father, I have different interests. And so it's not just all about the Patriots and the Red Sox and the Bruins and the Celtics, which is where I would initially connect with people. Now it's about parenting issues and doing stories. One of my, organizations I've worked with for probably the last 20 years is the Maine Children's Cancer Program. I mean, it's just sharing people's life stories. Life is hard. It's really hard. And so as someone who gets that, and as someone who has the ability to tell people stories and maybe help them out a little bit with awareness or fundraising or whatever it is, like, it's just a gift, and it just organically happens where you just, my grandfather, it's the simplest message of all time, and everybody's heard it, but I'll never forget my grandfather telling me, if you're just nice to people, it will come back to you, and it's seriously, it sounds so like, oh, well, yeah, obviously, but I don't know that everybody remembers that. My grandfather taught me that from the earliest of age, and I'm just nice to people. At least I try to be. I'm not sure I always am, but I certainly try that. And so if I have a great interaction with you, and then 5 years from now, something comes up, and I'm like, you know what, Nancy Marshall would know that, and I call you, and we haven't talked in maybe 3 or 4 years, but you remember that, when we interacted, it was really nice, and you liked me, you're going to be available to me. So
yes, I will in 2025. Right. Call me up.
I'm calling you in 5 years. But that's how you build relationships in this business.
Yeah.
Because, if I needed a coach to give me a quote about something that happened, and I know I can call on them because we have that kind of a relationship, and it was never adversarial. It was always pleasant, and you're just nice to people, and then people are nice to you. It seriously sounds so simple, but when it comes to your question, I feel like I'm just myself, and some people don't like me, some people do like me, but I'm always going to be me, and at least I have that. So I don't need everybody to like me, but I need to be myself. So,
well, your grandfather gave you great advice, and my mom always told me just listen to people when you meet them, pay attention to their name. Again, that's the sweetest sound.
That's a good one.
Yeah, and then so when you're listening to them and responding and you say their name, Lee, it's the sweetest sound in the language to anybody. It's their own name. So yeah, my mom told me that.
That is good advice. And I'm awful at that too. I wish your mom had told me that. So
well, you've been using my name in this interview, so I've noticed that.
That's true.
Yeah.
See?
At least you remembered.
I got that one. Yeah. Well, Gladys, you've always been my favorite. Oh wait, no, Nancy. Sorry.
You're my favorite too, Lee. So in your line of work, is there a resource such as a book or a website or an app, Lee, that you have found helpful, and why?
Twitter. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Twitter is such a news social media platform. I mean, it's really where everybody now goes to break news, to share news, to spread news. It seems to be the when something happens, we lost Kobe Bryant, right? And as soon as somebody told me, I think I had a text message from my oldest son, said, "Hey, Dad, Kobe Bryant died," and I'm like, "No, he didn't." And he said, "Yeah, he did," and I jumped on Twitter because if it's true, it's going to be on Twitter before it's going to be anywhere else. It'll be on Twitter. So within 30 seconds, I saw 80 different references to the fact that it was in fact true, and then all the details and so on and so forth. So as somebody who's in the news business, and even ourselves, when we break news stories, we used to, back in the day, we used to wait until the 6 o'clock news to break the big story, and now, because you didn't want to put it out on the internet too soon, because then everybody else would know about it, your competition, and that would give them a chance to catch up.
Right.
That is long out the window. And as soon as you put it up. And where do you put it? On Twitter. And on Twitter, it might link to the story to your website. So it might be on our website first, but we're going to tweet it out immediately, because people who follow news organizations on Twitter are looking for news as soon as it happens. So that's for me, that's my most regularly used social media platform. And just from a news gathering standpoint, just to see what's going on in the world, I follow very specific people that will tell me what's going on in the world, news-wise.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, because one of our secret weapons, and it's not going to be secret anymore because I'm going to share it, but at Marshall Communications, is that when we're representing a client, we try to figure out what news outlets we'd like to get the news about our client on, and then we follow the journalists who are working there, and we start liking and sharing and commenting on the things that they're sharing on Twitter. And then you can direct message people. So it's really a PR person's dream come true is to be able to connect with journalists on Twitter. And I don't think all PR people have figured that out yet. So.
Well, and just think about how it spreads. I mean, so even if it's somebody who you don't follow that you get it from, it will be retweeted and retweeted and retweeted, and it just spreads like wildfire. So, it's just a great resource for information up to the second, up to the minute of stuff that happens. And you don't have to follow everybody in the world because you're not going to miss something. Because if it's big enough, one of the people in your, following group will retweet it or like it, and then you'll see it, and then you'll be, oh, wow. So, it is a great tool for news gathering organizations, for sure.
Do you have your Twitter list all broken down into lists and categories?
So I have Twitter. So Twitter on my phone is just all the people I follow. But when I'm at work, I have TweetDeck, and TweetDeck, you're not allowed to have it on. Well, they don't have a mobile version of it, which is probably good because I'd be on it incessantly. But that's all I use at work. So at work, yes, I've got categories. So I'm looking at 7, 8, 9 different columns all at the same time. It's good to have a little ADD in you so you can pay attention to all that. So Yeah, so I've got them all broken down by columns on, I follow certain hashtags, I follow certain organizations, I follow, my own personal list of people that I follow, and then I've got, everybody that New CENTER Maine follows is in my column, so everybody that they follow. So, TweetDeck is very, very resourceful when it comes to that.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up. So we're definitely going to include that in the show notes, and maybe we'll make a little demo video about how to use TweetDeck, because I agree. It's fun. And I too have a little bit of ADD.
Yeah, you kind of have to.
I don't think I had it before smartphones, but
I don't think anybody had it before. So I think everybody now has it and nobody used to. That's pretty much what happened.
I know. It's a problem.
It is a problem.
But it also helps. I mean, that's the problem with this. Yeah, it's useful in a career. So, Lee, is there a parting thought that you'd like to share with the PR Maven Nation today?
No, I really do feel, and I say it all the time, and it's never not true. I just feel really lucky that I do what I've been able to do for 29 years for quote work. I truly love my job. I really do. I love the people I work with. And every job's got highs and lows and goods and bads, and it's not unicorns and rainbows. I really do, and sometimes it's really hard work, because again, you're sharing stories where somebody's life has changed, and it's not always for the good, and maybe it's going to be broken forever because of it. But you're the voice that people come to. That you're the microphone that spreads that information, the conduit between the news and the public, and that's a huge responsibility. But I think when it's done properly, it's just provides so much value that when I have to deliver hard news to the state about something that happened to somebody in our state, that you'll have the proper perspective and tone and understanding and compassion to not be National Enquirer, in your face, sensationalizing all this awful tragedy. You're just a person talking to other people. And as one of the people that are from here, I'm talking to my people, because we're all in this together. I'm just the one who's kind of sharing the news with you. So whether it was at a restaurant, if I see you and I'm telling you about what happened during the day, or I'm in front of a camera with a teleprompter and a microphone, I'm just talking to you. I'm just telling you what happened that day. So to be able to do that for 29 years is not something I take lightly. It's a huge responsibility. I absolutely love it. I want to do it forever. I hope to never retire. I want to beat Bill Green's record. Bill was 46 years, I think, on TV.
Wow.
So I've been 29.
Okay.
So I've got to go 17 more.
Well, and you need to support all those kids.
So that would make me, 17. I went to Darien. Let me do the math real quick. So that'll make me 68 or so when I retire.
No problem.
So at this point, I feel like I'm never going to retire.
Yeah.
So no problem. So
I can't imagine retiring either. I
Yeah.
think that, if I were to retire, I'd end up just volunteering to do what I do now. So I might as well just keep doing it. And
Yeah.
I love it too. So I feel very blessed.
See?
And I feel like podcasting has opened up this whole new world for me. So I've kind of gone from being a PR person to sort of a broadcaster, with my own podcast. And it's just great that I can sit here and have a conversation like this.
It
with
is
you.
great. I can't wait for the next one.
Oh, good. Well,
lock it up.
We can wrap this.
Well, let's see what the listeners think about this one first.
I think it's so funny you said lock it up, because my son Craig Marshall, who was on episode 3 of the PR Maven podcast, but sometimes we pretend that we have a TV show, and he's always like, lock it up, Nance, lock it up.
Also featured on the Olympic Zone with Bill Green and myself a while back, in the last Olympiad. So
that's right. Yes, I think Craig and his friend
guest.
Mike Boardman, they commented on
Michaela Schifrin.
Yeah,
they came on to talk about Michaela. So
yeah,
I remember.
Yeah, that you do have a good memory.
Well,
yeah, and Michaela unfortunately just lost her dad. It's very sad. He was an awesome guy, Jeff Schifrin. So may he rest in peace. That was a very sad story. Yeah, actually, Michaela, I remember seeing her at Sunday River when my son Jamie was 13. So that would have been 2008. She was at the J3 Olympics at Sunday River, and I remember Jamie pointed her out and said, "Ma, that boy or that girl is beating all the boys. She's really amazing. That, and Michaela, there's a skinny little blonde girl.
There she goes.
She could move.
Yeah.
She still can. So that's great. Well, Lee, this has been so much fun. And if people want to follow up, obviously they can follow your Twitter feed.
So Twitter, it's TV Lee G. I think Instagram is also TV Lee G. And Facebook is just Lee Goldberg News Center. So
all right,
that's pretty much it.
Okay, well, thank you, and we'll schedule you for your.
I'm
your
ready to
next
go.
appearance.
Thanks for having me. This was awesome. Appreciate it.
Thanks, and I hope everybody in PR Maven Nation enjoyed it, and have a great week. That's it for this week's episode. I'd like to thank you for listening, and if you feel that you've gotten value out of today's conversation, consider leaving a 5-star review on iTunes or whatever app you're using to tune in. If you haven't subscribed yet, you should do so. I release a new episode each week, and subscribing will make sure you get an alert when there's a new episode. You can also join the PR Maven Nation by going to prmaven.com/nation and clicking join. It's free, and it's a great community of like-minded individuals who are all looking to learn and grow from one another. If you have an Alexa-enabled device, be sure to add the PR Maven Marketing Minute to your daily flash briefing menu. Thanks again for listening, and have a great rest of your week, PR Maven Nation.